welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. And the gift that keeps on giving, and that's kind of the whole thing with the whole Starship Enterprise. I was never a big Star Trek fan, but it looks like William Shatner is the oldest man ever to go into space.
Yes, at 90 years old,
the final frontier.
He actually managed to get into space, and his comments when he came back down were absolutely amazing. He was flabbergasted by the experience. He said, he hopes he never recovers from this because the feeling was just so amazing. And I think it's ironic that this happened basically the same week that Kamala Harris had her video on YouTube talking to kids about space. And gee, which is going to inspire more kids? William Shatner actually talking about being in space, or Kamala Harris talking to child actors?
Child actors is the key. Her train has so much left the station. And again, we kind of have a list of things to talk about. I have never seen between her and Basement Joe, I've never seen an administration become more irrelevant in a quicker period of time in my entire life. What say you, Dr. Locke?
No, it is absolutely
it's
amazing.
Shell-shocking.
And it's absolutely hysterical to me because they hired an image consultant for her to talk, to do this program on YouTube Originals about space. Not only don't they hire an American company to produce this video, it's a Canadian company, but the name of the company is Sinking Ship Productions.
How
so apropos
funny.
Is that?
You can't get any better than that. I did read it. I thought that was actually a joke, but no, it's apropos.
Well, it's true.
I'm sure it is, and it's completely apropos. And speaking of apropos, the Dems are growing. They were before last time we did Carnivore Bites, but it's accelerating the Biden disaster. I actually saw something. I think it was Sunday or Monday of last week or this week. And it was amazing. He was in, I think it was Pennsylvania, and he was talking about the president of Pennsylvania. I mean, oh my God. It was shocking.
Yeah, he's completely out of it, and the Democrats have just fallen apart. Nancy Pelosi made a speech talking about how they're going to have to pull back on this huge infrastructure bill.
Thank God.
But she goes, most Americans are for this bill, whether they know it or not.
That's right. Well, deja vu all over again.
Right. This is right up there with we have to pass this bill to know what's in it. What really makes it big is that she's talking about scaling back, and the head of the Progressive Caucus has said, no, 3.5 trillion's the minimum. We're not going to be scaling this back. There's nothing in the bill we can get rid of. So basically, the Democrats have killed the infrastructure bills because they can't agree.
Oh, shucks. I'm so bummed out.
Yeah, it's just such a shame.
It sucks. I don't know if I can go on. If it was an actual infrastructure bill, I'd say, yeah, we kind of need it. But it was every wish list from a left-wing whack job, constituency was in that. Thank God it might die. There's further documentation about the border situation. We're not being told what's really going on. I think it was like 160 or 70,000 people, probably more, just let out into this country. It's all about a president that has no control. I think he's barely a figurehead, and he even goes into world events. Like there's the showdown over Taiwan that we talked about, last week. But now there's growing concerns that Taiwan has nuclear armaments, and they're not going to go down easily. It's all about filling the vacuum, isn't
It really is. And quite frankly, Biden created this massive vacuum with his botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. Our allies don't trust us. Our adversaries are rushing to fill the superpower vacuum. Russia and China are basically working together. So we have no leadership. They're stepping into the void. And of course, Biden's own policies have pushed that along because he's killed energy projects here at home, but given the green light to energy projects in Russia. So we have even less power.
Yeah, it totally boggles the mind. Again, that brings up something else on the list, and that's we will call it the Biden supply chain Christmas. It could be the Grinch. He is the Grinch who stole Christmas. They're saying buy things now or you're shit out of luck, as they say, and there'll be over $90+ a barrel gas. I think it's going to be a real again, and Biden. It'll be funny, just like 9/11. I think will he even do the cutting or the lighting of the Christmas tree? I don't even know. And they get more of the FU Biden everywhere. It was a NASCAR and an NBC correspondent covered and basically said they were saying something completely different, which was not the case.
Yes, let's go Brandon, which has become a social media trend. Anytime people are insulting the president, now they're going, let's go Brandon. It's become absolutely hysterical, but it's growing even more because the F Joe Biden chant has been at college football games since the beginning of the season. It was at NASCAR. It's been at NFL games. It was at the Yankees Mets game. Okay, this is a New York audience. You don't get more liberal than New York, and it was there. And now we've started seeing it at events overseas.
Yes, I was going to say it's an international phenomenon. Let's just face it. Okay, you can be, as erudite as you want. He's a living clown. People know it, and it's just a joke now. He's a joke. It's a Johnny Carson joke. He makes Jimmy Carter look like Winston Churchill.
He does. I mean, the big difference is Jimmy Carter, no matter how bad he was doing, you knew he cared about the country. Biden, you're not even sure he knows what country he's in. I mean, if you remember back during the scandals during the Reagan administration, the big question was, what did the president know and when did he know it? Well, now the question is, what doesn't the president know and when didn't he know it?
Yeah, and I blame, again, we talked about that, the responsibility, the fourth wing of our government is an independent press. Everyone knew he was not up for the job, and they screwed us because we got someone that is totally incapable. When people tell me, oh, he did it, he didn't do anything, okay? It's like Forrest Gump or Weekend at Bernie's. There's nothing going on.
And it's like he doesn't even understand the consequences of his actions. If Joe Biden was the captain of the Titanic, he would be telling his passengers, we're just stopping for a little ice.
Yeah, to refresh the drinks. Increase in the debt limit. I mean, why even have a debt limit? I mean, again, I said this. But
that's a legitimate question. I mean, Warren Buffett actually brought that up years ago, saying, why even have the debt limit? Because you're just going to keep raising it.
Yeah, it's like an alcoholic saying, yes, I'm going to have a couple beers, and they got like 5 6-packs in their refrigerator. Just stop it. Stop with the shenanigans. And the funny thing is, there will be consequences, but I think there's not immediate consequences, so it's who can spend the most. There's really no hell to pay. As I said, in 1980, the debt limit was a half a trillion. That's a rounding error now. It's totally ridiculous. More ridiculousness, I think there was about 4.3 million workers quitting their jobs, because you're being incentivized to do that. I don't know if it's by design or just by incompetency. And then you have unions, especially with the containers, threatening more and more strikes. This could make, something, I'm going to live my youth one time over again. It's going to be the 1970s all over. It's going to make Jimmy Carter look like a rock star. What do you think? I mean, and people are pissed because one thing about America, everything's all great, this and that, and and Trump was a xenophobe and a sexist. But when you don't have Christmas toys and gas, you need to take out a second mortgage. No, there's shit to pay.
Yeah, no, this has gotten out of control, and you're seeing it in the Democratic meltdown because the Democrats themselves now can't get together. The Republicans in the Senate stepped in and voted to raise the debt limit to throw the Democrats a lifeline. How does Chuck Schumer respond? By lambasting the Republicans for holding this up and trying to hold the Democrats hostage. And how dare they? If you watch the video, Joe Manchin is sitting behind Chuck Schumer, head in his hands. And while Schumer is making these comments, Manchin actually walks out on him. Republican senators have been talking about the fact that numerous Democrats have come to them to apologize for the bullshit that Schumer was spouting. So it's like they can't take control of what's going on. They can't accept the blame, so they're melting down.
They are melting down, and their leadership is awful. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, she's another one that's ready for like the loony bin. And then Chucky Schumer, just a he deserves it. He belongs in New York, a Tammany Hall kind of a thing. He's a political hack. Well, again, just real quick, very, very quickly, inflation was just going to be a temporary situation, but now it looks like even the Fed is saying that it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving, kind of like herpes. And I'm sure America's going to love that, aren't they?
Yeah, inflation has just hit the highest point in 13 years. So we've got a lot to look forward to when we do food shopping. And I mean, never mind Christmas gifts. This is hitting everybody where they live. Literally, food, gas, transportation.
Oh, no, this is not frivolous things like, you could say in certain times, like in the 70s, there was, a meat shortage. Yeah. Is that hurt people? Yes. But this is across the board, and it's targeted at basically raw essentials. Very troubling. I think 2022, unless the Republicans, which they can do, if they don't have a circular firing squad, I don't see how they don't kick some ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost becoming a given that we've said this for quite a while. We know the Republicans are going to win the midterms simply because of history. But now they're talking about the possibility that there could be a turnover in Congress similar to what we saw in Obama's midterms, where the Democrats lost 66 seats.
Oh, I think it will be. At the rate we're going, how can it not be? Vax mandates, kind of the gray area between government and private enterprise, but you see more and more companies basically laying down the law and saying no vax, no employment. Is that a slippery slope, Dr. Lopkin?
Well, it's definitely a slippery slope. You never want to be drawing that line. But I came across some information recently. Do you know there is no actual federal vaccine mandate except for federal employees?
I did not know that.
Biden has talked about it in press conferences. He's said there is a mandate, but he never actually signed anything putting it into operation.
I'm sure Camelo will do it for him.
I'm sure somebody will. But I mean, this sort of goes to what we were saying about him being completely out of it. Like, he's talking about this over and over again and didn't even bother to follow through on his own agenda.
I truly believe this is not for an effect, that I believe he can barely rally for 3 to 4 hours a day and be somewhat coherent.
Well, I started telling people over the weekend, this isn't actually Joe Biden. Joe Biden had a massive stroke. He's in a medical facility underneath the White House, and this is a presidential impersonator that they bring out to do appearances. And for our listeners that are not recognizing this scenario, it's the plot of the movie Dave, starring Kevin Kline. It's a hysterical movie. I'm not serious about this going down, but it's really starting to look like the plot of a really bad movie.
Oh, no, it's very close. You had a Joe Biden, never one of the most gifted people ever, but pretty much he would never have done what he's doing now. Middle of the road, nondescript, but not a destructive entity. Again, I think there's other people, and they see him as a pawn for their own advancement. And then finally, it does fit in or dovetail to the whole Biden situation. Go ahead.
I don't even think that at this point they see him as a pawn for their own advancement, because he's basically destroying the entire party. I think they put him in, he was supposed to be a front man for Kamala, and they were going to hand the party over to the radical left, and then Kamala ended up being a complete moron who couldn't handle it, and now they're dealing with, oh my God, we've got nobody in leadership.
Actually, I agree with you 5,000%. In fact, I go to a Chinese restaurant, and he actually said a similar type of scenario, that Biden was just a placeholder for Kamala, but she proved herself as a complete moron. So McAuliffe in Virginia basically is admitted that Biden is a drag, and he's in actual real trouble. I think that's a canary in the coal mine. I think if he goes down, Democrats, I don't know if he's going to go down, but Democrats are going to be in absolute panic.
If he goes down, it is going to be a big bellwether showing what's going to happen in the midterms, because Republicans haven't won a statewide election in Virginia for 13 years. The race right now is already within the margin of error, and it's actually been getting closer and closer. The Democrats decided they're pulling out the big guns. Barack Obama is going to be campaigning for him, but the party could not tell Biden that, no, he's a disaster, please stay away. So Biden has decided he's going to go on the campaign trail for McAuliffe.
Oh, that's what you need. Yes, exactly. You need Keith Richards vouching for you when you're in drug therapy. That's exactly what the doctor ordered. Well, Dr. Lopkin, another great edition of Carnivore Bites, and we're heard everywhere, aren't we?
We are. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts, as well as the Carnivore Radio website. You can catch us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you find podcasts.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin, and thank our listeners.
We'll see you next week.